urgent need to arrest the resurgence of kerosene explosions with attendant fatalities. The House notes the current high incidence of kerosene explosions in various parts of the country, which have resulted in loss of several lives and destruction of properties. The House also notes the prevailing high cost of dual-purpose kerosene, DPK, which presently sells at about 260 naira per liter, making kerosene more expensive than fuel or PMS. The House further notes that kerosene is the fuel used by most average and rural Nigerians for cooking and for lighting. The House is worried that dual-purpose kerosene, DPK, and aviation fuel, ATK, have similar properties and composition, further suggesting that high cost of kerosene and this consequent adulteration could result in a very unsafe situation for the aviation industry and the entire nation. The House is aware that kerosene is sold and dispensed by unregistered vendors out of surface tanks at unregulated locations that are highly prone to sharp practices. Also worried that there is always a nexus between the high cost of kerosene adulteration with cheaper fuel, and the attendant fatalities from kerosene explosions, as kerosene gets adulterated with cheaper and highly inflammable fuel with low flash points. The House is concerned that hapless Nigerians enduring the hardships of the time are now confronted with a new double tragedy of high cost of an essential domestic consumable and the present danger of tragedy from product adulteration. The House therefore resolves to 1, mandate the Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream, 2, as a matter of urgency, liaise with relevant agencies to inquire about the high cost of kerosene with a view to unraveling the root causes. Number 2, to urge the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and other relevant agencies to urgently regularize the supply of kerosene across the country and normalize its pump head price. Finally, Mr. Speaker, also to mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure implementation and report back in 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, it is a traumatic experience to witness the burial of 5 of our constituents of the same family in graves next to each other. This was my lot, Mr. Speaker, on 11th of February 2017, when Mr. Hilary Ugwoke, his pregnant wife, and 2 children were interred after death from adulterated kerosene explosion. On 30th January 2017, Mr. Hilary Ugwoke and his family were going to bed at Zone 6 in Genevu Street, Co Camp Enugu, when light from public supply went off. They poured kerosene, which had been procured from a woman vendor selling kerosene in bottles from a metal tank. The lantern exploded when they tried to light it, and the whole family was engulfed in an inferno that inflicted high-degree burns on the family members. They were rushed to orthopedic hospital in Enugu, but the pregnant wife and their first son could not make it to the hospital. The man and their 2-year-old son also died thereafter, leaving behind only an 18-year-old close relative as the only survivor, still in critical conditions. I had reported the incident immediately to NEMA and visited the hospital with the Southeast Zonal Coordinator of NEMA on 2nd of February 2017, Mr. Speaker. On that day, we witnessed another family that had been victims of kerosene explosion rushed in from Anambra State to the Bones and Plastic Department of Orthopedic Hospital, Enugu, in equally critical conditions. The inhalation burns that usually accompany fire from kerosene explosion is difficult to manage medically and increases the fatality from explosions of adulterated kerosene. The entire Ugoke family of 4, together with their unborn baby, was wiped out by this unfortunate incident. After the incident, Mr. Speaker, I wondered whether we should just bury the dead and go on with life, business as usual. Mr. Speaker, that would have made the demise of this family to be more or less in vain. And then the harbinger of death by adulterated kerosene will move next door. And we don't know to whom. Mr. Speaker, kerosene is the only petroleum product that most average and rural Nigerians use for cooking and for lighting. Incidentally, domestic kerosene is sold and dispensed by faceless vendors from surface tanks in unregulated locations. It is widely known that each time kerosene becomes very expensive, adulteration with cheaper and highly inflammable fuel with low flash points follows with attendant fatalities. Mr. Speaker, this motion begs the following questions. Why should these vulnerable low-income Nigerians, enduring the hardship of the times, be subjected to high cost of this domestic consumable above the approved official price of 150 naira? Why should these Nigerians, whose welfare we've sworn to protect, be subjected to danger of explosions and death from adulterated kerosene? We are a house of the Nigerian people, and I believe we are here for them. We must do all we can to save the lives and address the welfare of these vulnerable Nigerians. Hence my prayer that we interrogate the high cost of kerosene with a view to bringing it down to the price in line with the official rate of 150 naira per liter. And to also seek to regulate the distribution channels of kerosene to bring the vendors within the line of sight of the authorized regulators. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I so move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.